What is up, guys? Today I'm going to be making a tutorial on how to make some awesome looking smoke on FumeFX with using the program 3ds Max. I'll show you guys what we're going to be making right now. Okay, now that you guys have seen what we're going to be making, I hope you like what that looks like, and I hope you like this tutorial at the end because it was really hard for me. I actually recorded it once and found out that my mic wasn't working, so I had to redo it all over again. But that's not going to be a problem this time, hopefully. Yeah, can you guys hear me? No, I'm just kidding. Alright, basically we're gonna go ahead and start right now. We're not gonna waste any time. Click on helpers up here, and we want to put this to FumeFX and select simple source. We could have select particle source, but then we would have to make some particles within 3ds Max, and that's just gonna take extra time, and we don't need that. So, yeah. Okay, you can create the simple source and make it around 30. I'll do 30. Yeah, I'll do 30. Okay, select. Make the diameter 30 for the simple source, and there's nothing we can edit now, but we might come back to that later. Okay, so now that you have your simple source for FumeFX, go up here to the create panel and click on geometry. Go to this handout, the drop down, and select FumeFX, and then select FumeFX again, and we can make our container. Okay, we have our container. Let me just zoom out. Alright, that seems about good. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Alright, that's alright. That seems good. Let me increase the height. Alright, that's alright. Okay, if you guys are copying this value by value, you can just copy these numbers. But I mean, you can make it your own sizes and settings. So yeah. Okay. Alright. So now we have our container. Let me just explain the container real quick for people that don't know. The container is basically like the smoke or the fire will be in this container. Anything that is outside of this container will not be simulated. So for example, I have my simple source, and this simple source generates fuel or smoke depending on what you want. And while it's generating that, say that my smoke is getting too much over time, and it might come out of this it might come out of this box. If it comes out of that box, then it will not be simulated. Okay, and you see this little box here, that is basically a pixel in 3D version. So basically, you know how a picture has pixels like 1920 by 1080. This is basically a 3D pixel. So whatever amount of these boxes make up the entire box. So yeah, that's just a quick crash course for the container. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Click on the modify panel, and you want to open the FumeFX UI. Okay, click on object / source and pick object. It's this little hand pick with one little blue ball, and select the FumeFX simple source. Okay, so now our FumeFX source is selected, and this is pretty much paired up. Okay, if you don't see this screen right here, which is basically what's going to show your smoke, you want to click on this button right here. You click on this button, and it will show you this output preview. If it's too small, just increase it through this little thing. Okay, and a note for people that have graphics cards, you want to click on preview and click use GPU. It will make your smoke look a lot better, not in rendering, but in the output preview, and it'll give you a better idea of what your smoke will look like. But again, this doesn't have an effect on what your smoke will look like in the rendering. It'll just have an effect on what your smoke will look like in the output preview. So it's not required. So if you don't have a graphics card, it's alright. Okay. Also, if you selected use GPU, you want to click up here and click view and use shadows. I'll show you what that does later. It's pretty cool. Alright, now again, that stuff is not required. It's not gonna make your smoke look any better. Alright, Now we have our simple source selected. Now we want to go to the general parameters and let's decrease the spacing. And the spacing is basically what the size of that box is. So, and I told you it was like pixels, right? So these are the pixels right here, size. And this is like really small. It's going to be like a really bad, it's not going to be detailed. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. I'll just simulate just show an example. So yeah, this is fuel and smoke, and I forgot to mention that we don't need smoke. I mean, we don't need fuel, I'm sorry. We do not need fuel or fire because we're only doing a smoke tutorial right now. And this smoke is like really horribly looking. Looks like it came out of a 2005 video game, right? Okay, now we want to click on simulate and deselect simulate fuel. And now if I click start simulation, it's only going to be smoke, but it still looks really horrible. That is not what I want it to look like, but we can obviously make it look better because this is a open 3D program. Okay, we want to minimize fuel so that doesn't get in our way, and let's get right into the smoking. That sounded weird. Alright, increase the quality to around 10, decrease the maximum iterations to 30 or 40 or 50. I'll put it at 40. 42, it doesn't matter. Okay, advection stride, you want to set that to a really low number because it would add more curls to your smoke, and that looks pretty awesome. Sorry guys. Okay, decrease that to around, I'll say 0.1. That's good. Or maybe a little bit lower. Okay, 0.8, 0.08. Alright, and we're gonna use timescale later. That basically, I can't really describe it. It's just timescale, like makes it go faster or slower. Okay. Let's see what we have. We have This is the system. This is a really important part of the smoke, because basically we have X turbulence here. If you don't have turbulence in your smoke, it's gonna look pretty unrealistic. It's still gonna look cool, but it's gonna look unrealistic. And if you do have a lot of turbulence in your smoke, then it's gonna look really it's gonna look like a puffball, and it's gonna be really ugly. So we don't want that. And I'll give you an idea of how much too much turbulence is. This 2, 3, and 1 are all too much. I know you might be thinking, why is 1 too much, and why would they make it this high for you to go? Basically, for this specific scenario, 1 is too much, in my opinion, because we have a small container. It's not that big. If someone had a big container and they're simulating a lot of smoke, like really big scale smoke, then maybe 3 wouldn't be that bad. Alright guys, so we want to set it to a number around 0.06 is good. I think that will work. So yeah, just set it to 0.07. Okay, velocity damping will pretty much slow down the smoke and make it stay in one place for a long time. Yeah, so that's happened to like really dense smoke. Vorticity, we can put that to 1. Scale, let's decrease the scale of this turbulence noise. Put it to around 1.6, I guess. Frames, we can increase that. Detail, we'll decrease that. Yeah, decrease the frames actually. I'll put it to 7. It's not that big of a deal though. Detail, we'll put that to 5. Make it more detailed, obviously. Here's a smoke drop down, but we're not going to be using that right now, so it's okay. Okay, let's select rendering. Let's go into the rendering tab. We don't need this selected or maximized, so we can minimize that. We'll actually come back to this tab later after we simulate the smoke. So go ahead and simulate your smoke. Make sure your spacing is set down. It doesn't have to be that high, honestly. You can put it to around, I don't really look at this number or these numbers. I just look at how much RAM it's going to take up, basically. So I want it to be around in and this all depends on how much RAM you have. So I have 8 gigabytes, but my computer is not the greatest, so I'll just use 500 megabytes and see how that looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and simulate this, and I'll come back to you guys later. Alright guys, so I pretty much simulated most of it. I stopped at around 80 because I just want to test out a couple of parameters and see if we're gonna simulate more of it. Okay, so this is basically what I have. If yours looks different, that's totally fine. Just make sure it's not completely different. Like if you're following this tutorial and your smoke looks like it's going a whole completely direction, then look at the tutorial again, and so we can follow the same values basically. Okay, so this is what I have. Alright, let's go into rendering, and this is the part where it's gonna look cool. I'll show you guys what I was talking about when I said click on view and shadows. This is basically what's gonna make it look cool. First, let's go to smoke and increase the opacity to a pretty high number, I would say. And you might be thinking, this is making it look really ugly, man, what are you doing? But we're just going to change a couple more settings and it's going to make it look really cool. Okay, so I would say maybe let's go to a different point in time. I would say 11 would be good, not bad. Maybe 10. Okay, and this is basically where we're going to change the color of the smoke. By default, it's going to be in key mode, so we want to right click this and select keyless mode. So now we can just click on this color, and okay, let's set this to it doesn't have to be too dark. I'll just set it to 333. That's gonna be alright with me. That rhymed. Alright, so now it's still kind of looking, I can't really see the curls and everything. It just looks like it just looks like an alpha mask basically, and that's not what we want. So I'll show you guys the cool part. This is where everything makes it look so much better. Click on cast shadows and receive shadows, and now it looks a whole lot more realistic and more puffy and everything, and this is great. This is exactly what we wanted. Alright, and we can increase the opacity if we want. If you don't like that opacity, you can increase it. It'll basically add more depth to it, and I went really high there, but I just want to give you guys an idea of what a low opacity looks like versus a high opacity, and this looks pretty bad, but we can increase that to around 20, I'd say. 20 is good. Alright, so now we've done the rendering tab. We can go to object source, and honestly we should have done this from the beginning, but it's alright. It's all about experimenting. We can increase the amount of smoke if you guys want it to make it, if you guys want it to be more dense or less dense, and you can decrease that or increase that. I'll set mine to around 3, maybe 4. I'll do 4. Okay, and that's basically what we want at this point. I'll get into lighting and rendering as soon as I finish simulating, so you guys can go ahead and simulate that with the changes that we have made. Yeah, and then we can go ahead and start with the rendering and the lighting. Alright guys, so I was simulating and I came across a problem that I just want to address to you guys, just so you guys know if you have the same problem. So basically our container was not tall enough, and like I said, anything that goes beyond, any smoke or fuel that goes beyond the box will not be rendered or simulated. So it's a quick fix to that. We can increase the box size, or we can just do something else which will make it easier. Go to the general tab, and where it says boundless, make sure adaptive is checked, by the way. Where it says boundless, you want to set this to both on each one. Okay, and that will basically like there's no boundaries for where, if the smoke leaves the box, it doesn't affect whether it's going to be simulated or not. And you can't just do this all the time, because it will increase your like the power 3ds Max is taking from your computer, so make sure to be careful with this. But for this example, I only had like 20 frames left, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. And you don't have to start all the way from the beginning, so wherever you left off, I left off at like 84 is where the last frame that I rendered or simulated, sorry. So you can just press continue simulation, and it's gonna ask you the last frame was fine for 92. That's for my case because I deleted my frames, but you just want to press yes. Alright guys, so it is completely done simulating, and this is what we're left with. I think it's pretty nice. It looks like some nice smoke. Alright, now let's get into the lighting. And like I was saying before, as you can see, my smoke passed the box, but that's fine for now. I checked boundless for all of them, so we're good. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on illumination, and this is basically where we add our lights. So let's create some lights. Alright, we can go on to the create panel and select lights and click on standard. We'll select target spot this time. Doesn't matter which one you use. I mean, if you're good at lighting and you know how to light, then you can use whatever you want, but I pretty much only know how to use target spot. So make copies of the first one we make. We can just make it straight across from the simple source, and make a instance. Make sure it's instant because we don't want to go ahead and change the parameters for each one, because that would take a lot of time. So click OK, and basically we have 2 lights right now, and what I like to do is select both of them and shift and rotate them, and now we have 4 lights. Make sure you have instant selected, and now you can take those 4 lights and rotate it 45 degrees, and now we have 8 lights. Now we can take the 8 lights. Oh man. Okay, take the 8 lights, and do you know what we're gonna do? Nope, we're not gonna rotate them again. But good guess. But we're gonna shift and, sorry, I have the wrong thing selected. Okay, we're gonna shift and drag them upwards, and now we have a total of 16 spotlights, and we have ones coming in from the top and ones coming in from the bottom. That's just how I like it. That's what she said. I don't know if that makes sense. Alright, select the bottom ones. I don't know why my selection is like this. Okay, go ahead and see. That's a problem. Alright, select the bottom ones, and we can move them down a little bit. It's no big problem. Alright, and since there are instances, and we were smart enough for choosing that, all we have to do is select one of them, and I choose Spotlight 14, and go to the parameters, and make sure you have shadows on, and you can switch it to ray trace shadows, and then click on shadows parameters right here, and make sure you have atmosphere shadows checked. Okay, now basically these are a lot of lights, and they're all on 1.0 for the multiplier for the intensity, and that will make our smoke really bright, and it's gonna look really bad and really ugly. So let's put this down to, and this is gonna affect all of them. So if I put this to 0, all of them will be 0, and there's not gonna be any light. So I'm gonna put this to 0.4, I guess, maybe 0.335. Okay. So yeah, that's good. We have our shadows on, and we have our lights set to a low intensity because we have a lot of them. So maybe we can put it at 0.4. Alright, and so now we have our lights. This is what we want to do. We're already in the illumination parameters, so just click on the select pick light, select the pick light little button, and I don't want to select all of them at like one by one, so just click on select by name up here, select the first one and the last one, shift select, and then click pick, and then it will automatically have all your lights imported to to the illumination, and that is exactly what we want. Alright, so now you see the smoke looks a lot darker. I guess our intensity is a little bit too low, or we're not positioning our lights correctly. So I'm going to select one of them. I want this to be open actually, but I don't think that's going to work. Let me cheat. Alright, never mind. Alright. Okay. So I basically want to focus on this. Let me go to an earlier time because my computer's kind of slowing down. Alright. You see how the light is coming from this side and not so much on this side. So, and it actually looks pretty dark and I can't see the curls on this side, and that's not how I want it. So let's just increase the, let me select one of the lights. I'll just increase this a bit. See what we got here. It's not too bad. I think I did a little bit too much. I'll put that to like 0.55. And we're gonna see how that looks later on. Yeah. That's pretty much it. We can select. Alright, so basically I think that's gonna be alright for us for now. Maybe we can, so let me choose select by name and hide everything except for lights. Select all the targets. Actually, we'll just select all of them, and we want to move that up, and I think that should make it a bit better. Alright, that's better. Alright, now we have our lights imported and we have them adjusted to our needs. I don't know why this looks like this. This is pretty freaky. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and start with the rendering process. I'm going to go ahead and render one frame to give you guys an idea of what the smoke looks like. I'll just render a single frame, and the illumination pass, which is the lights, that basically takes up most of the rendering time because we have a lot of lights. If we had less lights, it wouldn't take this time for the illumination pass. Okay, so this is what we have. It's the reason why I zoomed out is because our spacing is not that high, and if I zoomed in, it's gonna look all blurry. So yeah, I think I'm content with that. I think if we make it a bit bigger, if we render the whole thing, it'll look a lot better. So another thing I want to tell you guys is basically in 100 frames the smoke will get this high. If you want that to happen faster, you can go to general and simulation, and decrease the time scale to around 0.8 or whatever you want. Basically, if you decrease it, the smoke will happen, everything will happen much faster, the animation of the smoke. If you increase it, it'll take a whole lot longer. So you can decrease that to 0.8 or 0.6 if you want to go really fast. So I'll just keep it like this for now for the sake of the tutorial, but I told you guys how to speed it up. If you want to do that, you can do it, but you will have to simulate the whole simulation all over again, and that is exactly why I don't want to do it. So yeah, we'll just go straight into rendering. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm gonna go ahead and pick a good camera angle. I think this one is fine. I want a really good camera angle. Alright, that seems alright. And I want to go to rendering and select environment, and we can make this white, I guess. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like in a white background. The smoke looks way darker. It looks way blacker, I guess. I have to say I'm a bit disappointed at the level of detail. I usually use a low spacing to create detail, because right now, like this part of the smoke, it looks pretty blurry. And yeah, but I think that's alright. We're gonna go ahead and start with the rendering. Alright, so this is basically the angle where I choose to start from. So I'll just keep it right there, the camera. We'll go to rendering, render setup, and I want to keep it at 1920 by 1080, so I'll just click on HD TV video, and that seems to be alright. You can save your files. I'll just keep it in the render output. I'll name it smoke rise, and you can do any format you want. You can do directly AVI, but I like to do OpenEXR, which is basically single images for every frame, so that later in After Effects or Nuke or whatever software you use, you can just import those frames and it'll automatically detect the sequence. So save, everything looks good here. Okay, let's do active time segment to do all 100 frames and pretty much render it. Alright guys, so the rendering just finished. I basically have 100 frames rendered, and that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching this tutorial. If you guys need any help, please feel free to leave a comment below. I know this might have been a confusing tutorial, but please forgive me, because this is my first tutorial on YouTube. So yeah, expect more, because I expect to make a lot of videos on this channel. If you guys want any help on that, or any specific tutorial on FumeFX, again, I can do that. So please just leave a comment below, and please rate and subscribe. Thank you very much.